There are more questions today as to whether the proposal to bridge the gaps between what Israel and Hamas want in exchange for a ceasefire will really be enough.
Yeah, the next round of negotiations will take place in Cairo, but it's not exactly clear when. President Biden spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. During the call, Mr. Biden urged the Prime Minister to get a deal done in an effort to put a stop to more than 10 months of fighting. We want to bring in now CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. He is there for us in Tel Aviv. So, Ramy, President Biden spoke with Netanyahu on Wednesday. Can you tell us anything more about their conversation and where things actually stand on this next round of ceasefire talks?
Lana, hi. Yeah, good to see you. Well, we got guidance from the White House that talks were expected to start today in Cairo, but so far there's been no official word that started. We have seen some local Israeli reports saying that some representatives have started to arrive in Cairo, and one local Israeli news outlet reported that talks might actually only start this weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday. So we're still waiting for an announcement there. As for that talk Biden had with Netanyahu last night, the readout from the White House put the focus on the defense of Israel against Iran and against its proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. And one interpretation of that could be a message to Israel's enemies, its many enemies, right, in the region, that the U.S. is standing by to defend its ally if those retaliatory strikes from Iran and Hezbollah are launched after the twin assassinations 3 weeks ago. We already know more warplanes are in the region from the U.S., more destroyers, a submarine is also almost here. And the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier with its F-35s just arrived from the Pacific yesterday.
And Ramy, what have we learned about this, I guess, what they're describing as a bridging proposal Israel has said to have agreed to by now? What are some of the major sticking points if some things have been agreed to?
Right. Actually, we don't know. There's been talk about this bridging proposal that everyone's looking forward to holding up the past couple weeks now, but mediators haven't publicly revealed anything about what they are. We're in the dark on this. With that said, there are sticking points that are getting attention right now that very well could be those bridges that need to be crossed. Whether, for example, Israel's military will agree to withdraw from Gaza's border, with Egypt being one of them. President Biden on that call was expected to push Netanyahu on it, but the readout didn't specifically say they did. Netanyahu, though, on Israeli TV after that said that he would not give up Gaza's border with Egypt. Other sticking points: Israel does not want what they're saying a total ceasefire, but Hamas does. Israel wants to keep its troops in Gaza, but of course Hamas does not. And Israel wants to keep control of Gaza's southern border with Egypt. That is the Philadelphia corridor. And Hamas says absolutely no to that. So seemingly major bridges to build in this so-called bridging proposal.
And aside from the negotiations, Ramy, Israel conducted additional strikes in Gaza. What is the latest in terms of the situation on the ground?
Yeah, Lana, more IDF strikes, more death. At least 41 people were killed as of we last checked across Gaza, and that was just since dawn today. It's sunset right now, so in the past 12 hours. Since the weekend, a few hundred more people were killed, and just building on top of this, of the more than 40,000 that we announced, that we reported last week since this war began. Just today, our CBS News producer, Marwan Al-Ghul in Gaza, who has been continually reporting on this war since it started and who's still there, he messaged us and said that the bombing continued overnight and was more concentrated in the Deir al-Balah region. This is in the central part of the Gaza Strip, also continuing in southern Khan Yunis. He said that there's a narrow corridor of people fleeing, evacuating to the Al-Mawasi refugee camp that was designated that several months ago. But he said that that was, in his words, unprecedented, crowded. On top of that, another journalist was killed, a cameraman with the Al-Quds TV. Now more than 160 journalists in Gaza have died. And just to put this all into perspective, I think, on average, since October 7th, something like 125 people every single day on average have died. 1 out of every 50 people have died. But again, a reminder, as I've said this over and over again, as we continue to say, these aren't numbers, these are people, husbands, wives, children. Most strikingly, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the death of two newborn sons, 4 days old. Very striking. We have to remember that behind these numbers, there are lives and lives that have been lost.
Such a good point, Ramy, underscoring why a ceasefire deal is so essential. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ramy.